trying this out again today. I'm going to be doing a live MIDS watch recording. Record the audio, make a video. It'll probably be for next week. Hey, you get the deal. Feel free, come in, hang out the chat. I'm not going to look at it until the thing is done, but once it's done, we'll do some chit chat for a few minutes over the field report, get some nice things going, and then move on. So this time I was smart enough to make the thing goddamn public. So strike a blow for that. Excuse me. So there's 4 main points I'm going to kind of get across with this one. The first one's on value systems. The second part is if you worked for me, I'd fire you. 3 is you aren't the beta bucks. And 4 is the D word. Let me get everything prepped here and then we'll go. Yeah, grand argument, played it cool, but outside I feel helpless. So I'm going to start the recording here in just a second. And then let's go. Test. Oh, forgot that part. Test. Yes, no, maybe. Oh yeah, that's right. Now it works. Welcome to the Mids Watch, guys. I got a new one. You're going to love this one. It's called The Grand Argument. Played it cool on the outside, but inside I feel hopeless. It's got kind of 4 themes that it's nice to break down, and I wish these things were like very simple. It's like, hey, 5 reasons to know why your wife is like this, but they're complex topics because people's lives are complicated, and so you're going to get what you get. Hopefully you found your way here somehow through some like miracle of marketing. The 4 things, though, are going to be guys who don't know their value systems. The idea is that if you worked for me, I would fire you. You're not actually the beta bucks. And then the D word, which is divorce. So I'm going to get started on that one. And I think you guys have caught on to a theme here. So for like these very great field reports, really great breakdowns, and really good red-pilled concepts to get guys out of their situation. And then, you know, the prolific posters. In this case, I'm leaning heavily on Jack Ten of Hearts, the marketing guy of the Married Red Pill. And the theme is, guy comes in, dumps his life on everybody's plate. This guy takes hours to put out very thoughtful and key strategic elements of what he can do to add to his mental models and improve his life. And then they just piss off and never come back and never implement any of it. So this is your competition, fellas. Let's face facts. Most people don't want to win. They don't want to succeed. They just want a therapist to cry to. And unfortunately, it doesn't work to here, but we can take the lessons, the ones that work for us. And for Op here, he's like, I don't know his name. He's deleted his account since then. It's probably some kind of like Alpha Wolf 69420. But anyways, tonight, the wife and I had a big argument wherein she, once again, accused me of neglecting the household chores and leaving them for her. She then added that she refused to live like this as my mother and maid, and even threw out the word divorce. I played it off cool and poker-faced as the only stoic red pill can teach. I threw it back at her saying, well, what do you want? Do you want me to do the chores? Okay, which chores need doing now? And then proceeded to do them. After I was done, is there anything else, I asked? And she replied with a flat no. Like, that'll show her. I mean, the whole thing starts off just horribly. Like, consider, this is why a lot of guys who have, like, that treat women as the arch nemesis and their adversary, it just doesn't work. Like you see right here, he's treating her as his arch nemesis. And is it any wonder that they don't have a loving relationship? The fact that he speaks like he's Shakespearean prose, and his idea is just to like, you know how there's the thing about genuine desire versus like negotiating desire. Like, you can't negotiate desire, obviously, but he's doing the exact same thing here, except for it's with her demanding him do stuff, and she just wants to be happy. She doesn't know what makes her happy, and so she's throwing stuff against the wall to see what sticks, and he's doing all of it with like a huge amount of resentment, and now nobody's happy, and she's in charge, and we're at where we're at. So he's got some background for this. The background is for the entire week he had a horrible cold, and he was so ill he could barely get out of bed. Necessarily, he could do less around the house, but not allowing himself to repeat the mistake of a similar episode 1 year ago, I didn't bitch and complain at all. Instead, I simply mentioned once that I had lost my voice, so as not to expect me to speak much. I never expected or demanded any assistance from her, assuming I'd just have to ride this one out. And when she came home from a grocery trip with the cold medicine, I was appreciative, even though I never asked for it. And despite my condition, I still took care of our son, who's 2, and also sick and even had pink eye. Like, geez, Jesus didn't nail himself to the cross this hard. You know what I mean? Like, is there any wonder why there's zero attraction here? And for cold, I don't know. Maybe this was before the COVID flew around, but maybe he was the first guy to get it down in Wuhan. He worked at the wet market. Anyways, I'm actually skipping a lot of this stuff because it's a lot of like, this is the kind of stuff that a daughter talks about when she bitches about how her mother-in-law talks to her. It's always this guilt trip stuff. He's obviously a villain. I know it's better than expect sympathy. The whole time she's throwing bombs at me, mentioning divorce, and the coup de grace. Like, who uses coup de grace in a sentence? My son watched all this and started getting uppity to me, and I told him to keep quiet. He answered with, "I'm not talking to you," and I tapped him on the butt. I don't know if I did anything right here, or if it's just a prelude to some kind of destruction. I have no idea of the self-improvement I've been doing over the last year, and if it's really been working, or if I allowed myself to be fooled. I've done the lifting. I've read the sidebar, even the 48 Laws of Power, and much more. It seemed like there was progress, but now I wonder with this argument. Like, keep in mind, a lot of guys wonder, it's like, okay, so if I become red-pilled, how long until my life becomes awesome and rains manna from heavens and, you know, girls from the sky? And I just go like, it all depends on you. This guy was 12 months wasting his time. He said he's read everything, but if you notice, he can't even manage a basic bit of conflict resolution. He didn't mention anything about fogging. He didn't mention anything about negative inquiry. He didn't mention any of his nice guy behaviors, his covert contracts, the idea that espousing this weakness does not make you attractive, like zero attractive behaviors. He doesn't even understand the problem. So my first thought is he's lying. There's no way he's been doing this for a year. And unfortunately, he's deleted account, so I can't even confirm it. But I'm guaranteeing you it's just some one-off guy who read a couple of Rollo Tomassi articles and now he thinks of himself as red pill and doesn't know why he has to actually act on it. It should just happen. Having said all that, you get to the Jack comment after. It goes, yeah, but I don't think you're swallowing the red pill in the context of your own life and marriage. Look, when your wife drops the D word, she's basically saying this. I think our marriage is subtracting value from my life, and therefore terminating it will be a net positive. Now that's a subjective statement because value is generally subjective. Your definition of value and hers will differ. You can think of frame as whose definition is predominant in the marriage. Values are hard to specifically define and they change over time anyway. Like I bet countless guys here said they value a wife that's willing to stay at home and actively raise their kids. And then they come here and complain about how their stay-at-home wife spends way too much time screwing around on Facebook or whatever. If those guys would have trouble defining their own value systems, let alone communicating it, you can imagine how bad women are at this. I am putting a pause in reading the Jack response because I think this is, I mean, you hear it. You hear it from like Rob and Rollo and all the older guys. The guys in their 40s, they've been married for a decade. They've maybe been through a divorce, maybe even 2. And they keep seeing these bright-eyed and bushy-tailed 28-year-old guys who have been married for a year talking about, I want my wife to stay at home and raise our kids right and give them our values. I don't think he knows the values. Like, even Jack here, he's like, I was raised around those guys. And what did they do? Well, they got everything they wanted, and then all of a sudden they figured something else that they didn't like and bitched about. Like, most people don't know what their values are. And in this case, guys think they know what they want, they get what they want, and then they just keep moving the goalposts because it's the same problem that you see with like women. No, they don't know what makes them happy. So they throw shit against the wall and they see what sticks. And in this case, it was like, she's going to be a stay-at-home mom, do her thing. She does it. Now she has a different habit. Now that's bothering me. And they realize that's not the issue. The issue is they don't want to be taken for granted, but they don't know that. So it always manifests in these weird symbols. And that's why I absolutely hate those stupid top 10 ways to make your girl your hypergamy lists. Number 4 will surprise you because it's just, nobody knows why you want those things, but some guy on the internet told you they're good, so they're good, right? Why not? But yeah, anyways, back to the topic at hand though. The entire marriage counseling industry literally serves as a value translation, which sounds helpful, but it's usually pointless. Why? Because everything your wife will say is how you're not meeting her definition of value. But usually, her values are either stupidly obvious and should probably be a part of yours, or they're completely pointless and should be ignored entirely. So I spend $200 an hour for a guy in a sweater vest to tell you this. So which is it? Is your wife's value stupidly obvious or completely pointless? The stock married response is always to assume the latter. In other words, assume your wife is angry about dumb shit that, given enough time, she'll realize she shouldn't be angry about. Easy example is, if I turn my husband down for sex, I should expect the same attention and affection anyway. You giving her unconditional attention after being shot down should definitely not be in your value system. So either she's going to adjust her expectations, or screw it, she's going to drop the D word because she expects it, even though it makes no sense. But here's the thing. The op here is struggling with Red Pill because it's not his situation. He's not the beta bucks. His wife doesn't think he's adding value to their life, and her reasons are stupidly obvious, which usually means they're not irrational. And he says here, the guy's posted and commented several times already, whining about his hardship that or his hardship this. He's like, dude, you whine. If you go through your posts and comments, realize you whine constantly. Mostly in how you state all your hardships in the most dramatic way possible. Here's a small sampling. And I really do like how we have some quote tweets here so we can get a bit into the mind of this guy. I have a terrible cold, and it was so ill I could barely get out of bed. Physical and emotional exhaustion was unbearable. Caused me a great deal of pain, and replaced by a psychopath of a boss. Like, come on, man. Who the fuck talks like this? Like, Jack actually found himself getting aggravated as he read this stuff, and he realized why. He had an employee 2 years ago, Joe. Joe was annoying because all the other employees would mess up on occasion, because everybody does. And sometimes it wasn't entirely their fault, so the stock answer is typically this. This unexpected thing happened, I was unprepared for it, so I was a fuck up, but I'll fix it and take measures to ensure we're prepared if it happens again. But no, not Joe. Joe has always sounded like, this happened to me, and I will describe in painful detail how this was clearly the most unfortunate set of circumstances that couldn't be forsaken or helped, and by any implication it'd be unreasonable to levy any criticism of me for anything that can't be done as a result, which, by the way, nothing got done. And if you ask me to fix it, I will surely go above and beyond the efforts of mere mortals who couldn't possibly be expected to fix it. And it drove Jack crazy, because he described his hardships in the most agonizing way possible. Anyways, he was literally being gaslit by his own employee because the reality was he wasn't getting his shit done, but somehow had me convinced for a bit that they were all circumstantial problems as a result of bad luck, and I should cut him some slack. Eventually, he dropped the ball on something that was minor but had a direct financial impact to the company. I asked him why he didn't get it done, and apparently he didn't get it done because he was still trying to deal with the other thing that was taking longer because of, the unfortunate crap, blah, 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 blah. And the oversight cost his company something like $5,000. So when he told him to pack up his shit, he whined about how this was grossly unfair, and told me it seems his circumstances are preventing him, and blah, 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 and none of that stuff mattered. Here was the point. He wasn't adding value to the company, and that $5,000 made it very easy to realize that, so he was done. So he's inferring, obviously, that the hyperbolic vocabulary is just a coping strategy. I'm put a pause in there on that. You'll probably see this manifest in a lot of different people. Like, we often talk about narcissism, and I've talked plenty of times about positive and negative narcissism, or good and bad narcissism, or unhealthy and healthy narcissism, and this is kind of what I'm getting at. Everybody thinks narcissism is this grandiose sense of self, like I'm the king of the world, I'm the king of the manosphere, or whatever hell you want to say. But that's not it. Narcissism is more so that you've built an elaborate fantasy where you're the main character. You may not be the greatest man on earth, but you are the lead. And everything else is a type. So in the case of this guy here, he was complaining that he had a cold and his kid disrespected him, and this is all stuff that's outside of his control, and he's trying his best. He's made himself out to be this tragic, Homeric, oh, the Trojans came and invaded, and I couldn't do anything about it because the gods saw fit to blah. And you're like, oh, and that's psychologically, you got to understand that nobody will diagnose that as narcissism, because nobody would even think to help the guy and say, hey, man, you got a problem. They'll just leave him, and he'll be stuck to wallow in his own self-misery. I always refer to it as most people think narcissism is I'm Superman, and everybody else is lowly and beneath me. But in this case, it's the martyrdom complex. I'm the woeful martyr. I'm the plow horse. I'm the guy who lit himself on fire to keep my family warm. But it's all just a coping strategy. He's basically useless, and he doesn't want to address that uselessness, which the married red pill, for the most part, has plenty of information on how to get past that. And instead of doing all that, he just does this, and it makes it very hard for for a wife, she probably tried to placate it at first, and now she's just at the point where she doesn't care anymore. It takes a long time to get there. Again, talk to any girl who's got a mother-in-law, and I guarantee you, probably like 60% of them will give stories like this, where the mother is woe is me and the guilt trip shit, and yeah. So we carry on then to the second half of this, and it's like, look, the canonical red pill advice pretty much assumes you're beta bucks. The bucks implies that you're devoted, hardworking as a husband, focused on the life of everybody else but himself, lighting himself on fire to keep others warm. And it's led to A, your wife pretty much taking for granted all that you readily do, because B, your wife not sleeping with you because of your failure to invest in yourself makes you a less attractive person, both literally, example, fitness, and mentally. Example, you don't care about yourself, so why should she? But this isn't quite your situation, is it? Like, you may have thought you sacrificed for your family as much as Joe thought a bus transfer in Inglewood was literally life or death, no matter who, and barely navigated with the smallest margins to preserve his life. But yeah, like your kid's a brat. You had a bacterial infection in your tooth, which I don't know what that meant from cold, but whatever. You had a shitty boss for a while. Shit happens. And also, let me point out that among your breathless retelling of your various hardships, this is how you phrase something your wife went through during this time. I don't know which post this was, but he says earlier on here, he catches him on a quote. My wife was diagnosed with cancer and had to undergo major surgery. Pretty matter-of-factly, huh? Did you throw in the adjective major? I mean, sure, but why not? My wife was given the extremely terrifying diagnosis of cancer and had to undergo extensive and major surgery or something like that. Cat got your tongue, Shakespeare? I love this part, by the way. Like, this shows you exactly why. He talks about everybody else's hardships very minimally, and his are like the greatest thing on earth, or worse. So I suspect your wife is more stoic than you when it comes to handling hardships or family stuff. Let's review your kid, who apparently came with his own never-ending set of problems. He was difficult, refusing to eat, sleep, and he cried for hours on end. The physical and emotional exhaustion was unbearable, and I found myself completely useless as a father. Because I felt of no use, I naturally ceded much power to the wife. When her demands escalated to the point of shit tests, I found myself unable to challenge them, and in my mind, I could not blow off the mother of my son, for that would mean abandoning my own son. Over time, I could sense her disrespect for me grow, and I felt powerless to do anything about it. Like, I'm pausing on there too. It's like, anytime that I talk to anybody in the sphere, my biggest tell that I'm dealing with a mental instability are people who treat their life like a Homeric tragedy, man. Like, as soon as you start seeing language like this, that's the first thought you should be going to. This guy has a narcissistic fantasy where he is Jesus on the cross. And anything you say is going to be filtered through that. And anything who breaks that illusion is going to cause what's called narcissistic rage, because you're not giving him what's also called narcissistic fuel. Another reason, by the way, you're told never to red pill your friends is this. That narcissistic rage, it's not him getting angry. It's like an emotional response. And I guarantee you, you're more likely to have the guy get violent against you than to actually take your stuff to heart. So don't try to help people that don't want to be helped, because I'm telling you right now, that covert contract only ends in pain. Either yours or his, but most likely yours. We carry on then. So look at the dialogue. It basically absolves of all responsibility. He says, like, I found myself and I could sense, I felt powerless. He's literally hearing Joe's voice in his head. Like, I'm pretty sure I know what really happened. Your son was difficult. Your wife had zero faith in you. You could share the hardship because you can't do that without whining about how unfair it all is. So she took on all the responsibility for dealing with it. She grew resentful that you were useless, and the fact that this happened came about the time her vagina dried up for you is not uncorrelated. And Jack's like, look, I'm beating up on you here because I'm trying to give you an idea that why your wife is dropping the D word. You seem to be all bad news, and she has no sympathy for it anymore. You say my tooth hurts, and your wife thinks, great, here we go, another sob story about my husband. Like, I don't care. I have things to do. This goes through her head every single time he has some excuse, yet somehow he's neutralized her ability to say anything because you always come with something like prepared, like, I mentioned it as the cause and left it at, you may choose not to believe it, but it is so. Like, this is why your wife's dropping the D word. She thinks you're useless, or at least not useful enough to add value. You don't hesitate, the way Joe did, in describing in painstaking detail just how much your uselessness is not your fault. So at some point she's going to think, well, he's useless, but he seems to be pretty set that he can't do anything about it. And since I can't convince him otherwise, I guess it's time to just drop the dead weight and move on. So, referring back to the red pill and self-improvement, did any of it help your family or just you? Because if you weren't beta bucks to begin with and you start swallowing the red pill when you're already deficient in so many household matters, then screwing off to hit the gym more or whatever is not going to be well received. You've been the drunk captain, or perhaps the whiny invalid captain. That's a reference, by the way, the 3 drunken captains of the married red pill. I'm pretty sure I've got a video on it, and if not, just check it out on the channel, you'll like it. Just know there's usually 3 general archetypes of the kind of guy who finds himself in a dead bedroom. So he's telling the guy, if you want to avoid divorce, focus on the red pill stoicism more than yourself and your hardships. Don't reserve it exclusively for your wife. If you ever had a pet cat, you know they're known for being all aloof and not giving a fuck, but they're like this all the time. Seriously, step on a cat's tail accident and it'll sprint away, hide under the couch and lick its tail in private, basically in secret, because it thinks its own pain and its boundaries are not anybody else's concern. Cats are literally anti-you. And I love those little fuckers. I'm gonna put a pin on this one too. This is another piece of like mainstream advice that's absolutely horrible. You know, guys should just express their feelings more. Guys should be more emotional. Guys should express their feelings. Right now, we're flat out telling them, stop sharing your feelings with everybody. Because this is the problem. In his mind, he is convinced all of this hardship is woe is me. You know, maybe it truly is. Maybe he is the unluckiest person on earth. But I'll put it this way. Look at it from a strategic standpoint. What do you hope to accomplish by just complaining and whining to your wife all the time? Even if you're not useless, let's say you're the greatest man on earth and you just have a horrible day at work and you want to take it out and you wonder why things end up like this. It's because a girl doesn't have time to excuse failure. From an Evo Psych standpoint, they didn't know how to hunt lions. Pregnancy sucks, and you can't hunt lions while you're pregnant. You can barely collect berries. So whether it's lucky or happenstance or incompetence, it doesn't matter because all they see is like drying out behavior. So yeah, just do what the cat does. Get the hell out of there. Do what you gotta do in private. Talk to a buddy. Talk to a shrink if you need one. And don't bring that shit into your house because as much as wifey being sexually available is kind of one of like the main stalwarts of a marriage, from your side of things, a girl kind of expects that she's not going to have a man baby in the house. Like, yeah. Well, does that mean I'm not allowed to have... You're allowed to have feelings. You're just not allowed to burden everybody else with them unless you're willing to accept that you're going to end up in situations like this. Is it fair? Who cares? It's predictable, and that means you can deal with it. He ends it off then on, if this was a chore you were supposed to do, referencing the chores that he had to do to make his wife happy, just say, I was busy with some other stuff. They'll get done. Don't worry. If she hamsters more about the undone chores, just say something like, look, I get it. You're upset about some sort of disorder in the house. Just go upstairs, take a shower. You'll feel better. I mean, sure, on a long enough timeline, this might mitigate all the above. She'll probably screw Brad Pitt even if he didn't do the dishes, blah, 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 blah. But since your wife thinks you're already built up a huge value deficit, and essentially, the point of the previous 2,000 words is explaining why I think it's not just pointless hamstering, but rational justification for her feeling that way, it's unlikely the strategy will work. Your self-improvement will have to at least part of your efforts going towards like a well-run ship. And that starts by not letting it fall apart every time you have the sniffles. So remember, I don't know if this is you. You're some random guy on the internet. You're in a marriage. You searched, why won't my wife have sex with me? And blah, blah, blah. And you end up in here, or heaven forbid. Part of this red pill journey thing, it's not about women or bad. It's not that, you know, she's a bitch. It's not she's bitching at me. What tips and tricks can I use to calm her down or to change the way she feels about me or to make her do this or to make her do that? It's one of those things that most guys won't figure out, in this case for at least a year, probably 2 for a lot of people. It's that there is no part of your red pill journey that involves fixing women. At all. You just can't. Not only can you not, it's not even the point. And I know this is like Jordan Peterson, he fixed your room, but this guy's got major deficits. Attraction is all about, you know, be attractive, be more attractive, and be less unattractive. Now, I don't know how attractive he is, but the lifting handles that. Style handles that. But he's extremely unattractive. Now, I don't care if he wants to stay with his wife and kid. I don't care if he wants to leave and go get a side piece or what. Doesn't matter. Divorce, sure. If he doesn't deal with these deficiencies in his life, and say what you will about her being a naggy, harping, bizatch, she's not wrong. And the fact that he can't even see it, and meanwhile, guys that are perfect strangers can see it in absolute clarity, just goes to show, like, there's the work. Now he fixes this stuff. She may all of a sudden turn right around as per like the drunken captain model, and be like, thank God he stepped up. This is awesome. The attraction comes back. The respect comes back. All that stuff comes back. Or it's just been like this for too long and it never comes back. And then hard decisions have to be made. Either way, you got to fix yourself. You got to fix yourself, because nobody else is going to do it for you. Nobody's going to point out this help that you need, and you've really got to take it on yourself. And if she drops the D word, prep. All threats are honored. But this guy's not there yet. Anyways, that's it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed yourself. I'm going to take some time now. What are we at now? Minute 26. All right. So that'll be a nice episode, I think. And let's chit-chat. All right, so smash the like, call coach a coach. Damn it, you guys, and this coach and this giraffe and the T-Rex, I don't know where you come up with this crap. Do you change colors for different tasks in the day? The colors are basically depending on what I feel like for the video. That's it. This time I went with red. I wanted something darker. Like I said, this is supposed to be like a record studio at like midnight, so. Miss Watch right Monday midnight my time. Yeah, the episode will probably be out next week. These are coming out on Thursdays, but I already record these ones, so I thought if I'm recording them, why not just do it with you guys in some chit chat, right? This is premium Red Pill content. There's your brand. Oh, I already know my brand. My brand is delivering value and getting you guys to add some mental models. No, it's still a MIDS watch though, Foxwolf. I see, is this still MIDS watch? It's like, these are live. I'm going to keep it up for like a couple days, and then I'm going to take it down, and then Patreon can have them for the rest of time, but this is a very temporary thing for you guys. And there's Johnny, hold me daddy. Nice. Terrence Pop talked about the cuddle group. Yeah, yikes. Divina Duckworth. Is that like a Howard the Duck reference? Nobody likes a whiner. Jesus. I cuddle with Japanese babes after sex. Hey man, cuddles ain't free, you know? Anyways, you guys like these. Like I said, the playlist is on the side. Feel free. Come on, check out more of them. Oh, there we go. So just add right now to whatever's going on. Oh, there we go. Bill McNeil from the TV series News Radio. If I want to be treated like a big baby, start acting like one. Right? Oh, okay. I want to say it's sad, but at the same time, I feel like public red pill spaces end up becoming that. They do. Honestly, most of this stuff devolves very quickly. And this is going to sound a bit, masturbatory, but the only way this thing works is you put a strong guy in charge who's not going to put up with shit and keeps everybody on point. That's all it takes. Like I said, thirst-free zone. You're pretty good at delivering a monologue. Thank you, Fox. To be fair, though, half of it's monologue and the other half is like reading through the other guy's field reports too. So it's a mixture of both. Having said that, I've already read this like 2 or 3 times before I start this episode too. So after I've done the reading, I have an idea where I want to go with it. I grab my notes and then I go into them here. So I liked Ryan upcoming title, Daughter of the Devil. It's Lucifer's daughter, Divina, not Daughter of the Devil. Because yeah, that one is like I actually like it because there's too many reports where I show that the girl's actually not a fuck up, the guy is, and that one's like, no, she's a fuck up, and his only mistake was like sticking with her. So gotta mix and match, right? Anyways, how much do I bench? I bench just enough. I bench enough. Thank you very much, though, Geronimo. Those are the real important questions. Ryan, why do women rationalize talking to guy friends but judge you for doing the same? I don't know. Who cares? Do you know what I talked about at the beginning of the episode? Here, what's it? Yams? Where I talked about guys don't have value systems? That's what happens when guys don't have value systems. They try to, like, react to whatever the girl's saying. Well, I should be able to talk to my male friends, but you can't talk to your female friends. It's like, what are your values here, man? In my case, my values are simple. When you're in a relationship, a monogamous relationship, nothing goes up the skirt, nothing goes down the throat. Neither of those rules are being broken. Do what you like. And I should add on to it in the future, don't put the other person in a position where they have to question. Like if they have to wonder if you're cheating, then that's kind of a dick move, especially if somebody is otherwise providing value. I think it's Wine More Please had a great quote on that where he said, the answers to adultery, like, are you cheating on me? He's like, look, if I'm cheating on you, you'll know. There'll be no doubt. It's a wonderful statement. I would unpack it, but that's a whole other episode. Yeah, don't start a circle jerk. Tell me about it. A cuddle group, let's go. Oh, John. You're shitting up my chat, God damn it. All right, sounds like a bat. G's a hell of a DJ. Anyway, so that's pretty much it. Yeah, I like doing these things. I'm probably going to record a shit ton of them live like this, like 20, 30. If I can get 50 of them together, then do all the editing for all the videos and then put them out on a schedule so they're there for like the whole year, I think that'd be awesome. But yeah, just like I said, guys, focus on your mission, focus on your values, and that's a big one. I know a lot of guys have a hard time with that, but I'll just say this. If you don't know what it is you want out of life, like what values to have, just sort out the stuff you definitely don't want and then pick from what's left. It's the easiest way. Anyways, I'm gonna end this one now. I got a second one. I'll probably do that one tomorrow because these are actually kind of getting fun. I'll talk to you guys later. Don't forget, Thursdays, midnight, these ones come out, and they'll be all edited, cleaned up. Very, very pretty. But I'll catch you guys on the next